most co-op survival games, people naturally fall into roles. Some players go mining, some go hunting, some spend hours exploring the map, looking for new materials, new creatures, and new places to build. And then there's the players who stay behind and build the base. The ones spending hours designing it, expanding it, rebuilding sections of it, and slowly turning it into something that actually feels lived in. But in Icarus, that playstyle can leave you falling behind surprisingly fast. Welcome to the High Court of Games, where I, the Queen of Hearts, judge the games that stand before the court. Here, champions are crowned victorious, and the unworthy are sent to the graveyard. Today before the court stands Icarus by RocketWerkz. Icarus is an open-world, PvE survival base builder that can be played solo or online with friends. You battle brutal wildlife, survive deadly storms, and build massive bases while trying to survive on a hostile alien world. Honestly, there's a lot that this game does incredibly well. Icarus is at its best when the survival mechanics, base building, and co-op chaos all collide together. Building massive bases while storms rip through the environment creates some genuinely incredible moments. And because the storms can actually damage your structures, you end up constantly thinking about how you build, where you build, and whether your base is actually going to survive what's coming next. And unlike a lot of survival games I've played, even activities that I would normally have found boring, like farming and fishing, started becoming surprisingly satisfying once I found NPCs willing to buy the things that I'd worked hard to produce. Then there's the animals. In this game, they're not just passive creatures or food sources. You can tame some of them, ride some of them, and even turn the ones you tame into full combat companions. Honestly, watching an army of tamed animals charge into battle beside you is absolute chaos in the best possible way. So when I say I love a lot about this game, I genuinely mean it. Which is exactly why the progression system frustrates me so much. The biggest issue for me is how progression works in co-op, especially in the early game. Because while the game supports co-op mechanically, I don't think it always supports the way people naturally play co-op survival games. In most survival games, groups naturally divide responsibilities. Some people focus on gathering resources, some focus on exploration, some people naturally gravitate towards building and expanding the base. That's usually me. I'm usually the person spending hours building the base, designing layouts, crafting equipment, building massive storage systems so everything actually has a place. And if you've played survival games before, then you know the kind of storage systems that I'm talking about. The giant wall of organized crates, everything neatly sorted, everything labeled, and every resource carefully organized. And setting systems like that can take hours. But here's where the frustration starts. At first, I thought that maybe the XP imbalance was just in my head, so I started testing it. Now, to be clear, the game does have shared XP systems for group. So, even if your teammate crafts or gathers something, you still receive a small amount of shared XP from what they're doing. But the imbalance comes from just how different those XP values actually are. When I crafted 10 batches of copper wire myself, I earned 170 XP. But when my teammate crafted the exact same thing, I only received 10 shared XP. That difference adds up incredibly fast over time. Mining works the same way. When my teammate mined nearby, I received 269 shared XP, but from the node that I was mining personally, I earned over 2,000 XP. And that's where the problem really starts showing itself. At one point, my friend and I even mined the exact same ore node together to compare the results. When the node broke, I earned 1,794 XP and only 174 from shared XP. And the deeper that I looked into it, the more I started noticing how many builder-focused tasks either gave very little XP or no XP at all. Take smelting, for example. In survival games, smelting is usually a huge part of progression. You spend massive amounts of time turning raw ore into usable materials for tools, weapons, storage, and building pieces. But in Icarus, smelting ore gives no XP. So if you're the player constantly managing furnaces, keeping materials processing, and preparing resources for the rest of the group to build with, that's more time being invested into progression systems without actually progressing yourself very much at all. So if you're the player spending most of your time building, designing storage systems, organizing the base, placing structures, but not being the person doing most of the crafting, you can start falling behind really quickly. And it gets even worse if you haven't unlocked the building pieces you actually want to use yet. If your teammates have already progressed through the tech tree, they end up crafting the storage pieces and building parts for you instead. And because crafting is one of the main ways that builders reliably earn XP, that means that you lose even more progression because someone else had to craft the parts you needed to build with. Honestly, I think this comes down to what Icarus wants from its players. This game clearly wants everyone doing a little bit of everything. It wants players exploring, gathering resources, mining, and constantly engaging with multiple gameplay systems instead of focusing too heavily on just one role. But if you naturally gravitate towards specializing in one playstyle, especially heavy base building roles, the progression system can start feeling like it's punishing you for it. That's really frustrating, because someone has to spend the time building the base. Someone has to place all those structures. Somebody has to spend hours designing and organizing these systems. But despite all of that, I still really love Icarus. The survival gameplay is incredibly satisfying, and the storms create some fantastic tension. The base building is decent, and the absolute chaos of charging into battle beside an army of tamed animals never stops being fun. So yes, I absolutely recommend it. I just think that the game would benefit massively from respecting builder-focused playstyles a little more during the early game, because right now, the player spending the most time building the base can sometimes end up progressing the slowest. And with that, Icarus is officially crowned the first victor of the High Court of Games. If you've played Icarus, I genuinely want to know how your group handled progression. Did everyone do a little bit of everything, or did your group naturally fall into different roles as well? And if you enjoy thoughtful game discussions, deep dives into mechanics, and honest reviews, subscribe and join me here in the High Court of Games. There's a lot more coming.